Hi Fox, how are you doing? Already a couple of games have finished in the ninth round of the candidates, and well, never mind one of them, the game between Andreki and Fiedler was a draw, more or less, without too much story in it, but the rest of the games, in particular the one we're gonna see in this video, were full of drama and lots of interest. This is the game between Mamedyarov with white and Aronian with black, and this could be a huge point for the final standings of the tournament. Let's see what happened, because this was full of exciting chess. e4, knight f6, c4, e6, and finally somebody allows the Nimzo-Indian. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time the Nimzo-Indian defense is played in this tournament. Bishop b4 and f3, the trendy variation with 4f3, remembering epic battles with Carlsen as black, Nakamura, Anand as white. There were really exciting games with this variation, and this game is going to prove to be another one of those epic battles. Now, black castles, much more common is to play either c5 or d5 here, so once again we're going to see home preparation from Aronian. He has done his homework and is going to absolutely catch Mamedyarov on the opening. e4, it seems white has everything, e4 controlled, he's going to have probably bishop pair, strong pawn center. Now d5 must be played, the pawn center must be contested, now or never. e5, knight f7, and c takes, e takes. Here white plays a3, bishop takes, pawn takes, and a very interesting move, f6. Well, not a new one, but certainly interestingly looking. And well, the position is already quite a curious one. Black is well ahead in development, but doesn't have that much central pawn central control. And well, but he will try to open up the position, as white king is still in the center and white has no development at all. All his pieces are on the back rank. But on the other hand, white has the bishop pair and has strong pawns in the center. So what will prevail? We'll see. It's going to be very interesting. Mamedyarov takes. Seems a little scary, but I think it's more scary, for instance, to play f4. And here, if takes e5, of course, f takes e5 is a huge blunder. Queen h4 check, and this is a very basic thing kids learn when they are learning how to move the pieces, kind of these checks, if g3, d4 check, taking the rook, etc. But still, taking with the d pawn after this capture, taking with the d pawn is still very problematic for white, because black can sacrifice his knight with the same idea. If f takes e5, still queen h5, queen h4 check. So not having developed any piece at all for white is very dangerous, as you can see. Well, instead e takes f6 was played after this f6 move. Now Aronian plays queen e8 check. Queen takes f6 had been played in this position, certainly natural looking. For instance, bishop d3 following, knight c6, I don't know, knight e2, knight e6 to open up the bishop. And well, an interesting position. I may take black here, because white's position seems a little weird, but okay, very playable for both, I guess. But instead queen e8, interesting. Now queen e2 and queen f7, very smart move order. He's not taking f6 at all, but now he's threatening to put the rook on e8. F takes g7 played. So for instance, if like developing move, for instance, knight h3, well, now rook e8, and if the same move as in the game was played, bishop e3, only move it seems. Now black has the extra option of taking the pawn with the knight on f6, and it seems he's doing much better here. His development is even better in this position than it will be in the game. So taking on g7 seems much more principled, much more correct. F takes g7, and now you're forcing rook e8, which forces at the same time bishop e3. Well, during the press conference, Levin mentioned the move knight f6. He thought this was another interesting move to stop white from developing, but instead he played another move, knight c6, developing another piece. And well, at this point, well, you could see Aronian was in home preparation and Mamedyarov was caught there. So once again, good job by Levon. Let's see if it pays off, because we have already seen a couple of games in the tournament where extremely good home preparation doesn't pay off at all. Let's see what happens here. Queen d2, getting out of the dangerous pin on the e-file, but white has a big problem, at least humanly speaking, because he has all his pieces on the back rank, on the all the king side pieces to be developed yet, so really a dangerous position. Knight a5 here played. The idea is to get in through c4 someday. There is still a pin on the e-file. The bishop is pinned on e3. Now rook b1, knight b6, improving his knights. All the both knights are hitting the c4 square, and rook b4, almost an only move, and white is ready to give up the exchange, because otherwise letting knight jump here would be just deadly, attacking with the rook and the knight the bishop on e3. Now Aronian plays rook ac4. Let's take a look at the line, at an interesting line both players mentioned at the press conference. c5 was a curious move here, very tactical, very sharp. And they mentioned a couple of continuations. For instance, d takes c4. The point is that black can play d4 here. Remember, the bishop on e3 is pinned, so if c takes b6, now d takes e3, and well, Aronian suggested queen b2, but Shahryar thought that rook b8 is strong, with the idea to go rook d2 immediately, and a really crazy position, little mess here. It would be very interesting to have seen this position. And well, in the same line, after d4, instead of c takes d6, if rook takes d4, knight b3 was another possibility. Forking rook and queen was another possibility they discussed, and really, once again, a very sharp position. It is quite interesting one to analyze, to test your tactical abilities. But well, rook ac4, which was the move instead of c5 what Aronian played, not bad either. Bishop takes c4 is forced, and now surprisingly, a little bit surprisingly, Aronian took with the d-pawn. He thought, as he confessed in the press conference, that using this move order he would be ahead a tempo, but actually he missed something. Well, if knight takes c4, which seems to be the most logical move here, once again taking on c4, giving up the exchange is forced. White has no choice. Now d takes c4, and well, knight e2, for instance, bishop d7. White could castle, I don't know, bishop c6. Well, the position is strange. White has a couple of pawns for the exchange, and well, a really interesting position, a strange one. Instead, d takes c4 played Aronian, and now rook b5, because the threat is once again to go. Now it's to go knight d5, attacking both e3 and then rook on b4, so forced rook b5. Here once again surprising, Aronian didn't went for this. Here exchange sacrifice was forced, takes, queen takes, and once again we would get maybe a similar position. I don't know, here king f2 or castle, I don't know, rook a8, similar position to what we have in the game, a strange one. But instead he went for bishop f5 in the spot. Well, developing this can't be a good move. Now the point is that white could have played, it seems, to the rook e5 move. For some reason it seems to be a great one. If rook takes, d takes e5. Now the queen controls the d-file. There is not that much danger against white king. After queen takes g7, for instance, f4, so defying pawn, passed pawn on the center, and well, it seems that white has solved part of his problems. g2 is protected by the queen, so it seems rook e5 was a strong move here. Instead, Shahryar played king f2, very human move, getting out of the pin for once. And now finally rook d5 is played. forcing the queen exchange, the exchange sacrifice. Queen takes and knight e2. Well, it seems white has developed his pieces finally, and the position is rather unclear. And starting from this position, I think, well, Aronian just acts too overambitiously. In fact, in the press conference, he admitted, he said he underestimated the complexity of position and went too far for the killing combinations, etc. He plays a5, trying to create lots of activity in the queen side with these pawns, with the trying to activate the rook on a8. It seems, for instance, safe now to take on g7, as we will see this pawn will be a headache later in the game for black. Now it really seems a very weak pawn. It could be taken at any moment, but really, when the moral could be when you can take safely a pawn that advanced as on the seventh rank, you should probably take it whenever it's safe. Well, Aronian plays a5 and h4. There we go, very ambitious. b5, h5, and suddenly, if the g7 pawn gets reinforcement, if h6 is played in safe conditions, the g7 pawn would be suddenly a huge point in white's favor, as black king would feel very unsafe there. That would be a protected passed pawn on g7, as we will see it will happen in fact. Well, h5, and now Aronian goes very ambitious, b4, sacrificing another pawn to create things on the queen side, but certainly it doesn't seem to be the best. It suggested to play queen d6, improving the queen, prepare a little bit to b4, control the dark squares here, the diagonal, and well, not to be that overambitious, it's suggested, because, well, as we will see, it doesn't pay off, unfortunately, for the Armenian GM. But anyway, he went b4, c takes, a takes, a takes, and he played queen b5 here. Well, putting a lot of pressure on the pawn on b4. The point is that, well, knight c3 cannot be played, for instance, which would be a desirable move for white to play, because queen takes b4. Instead, Mamedyarov plays rook e1, bringing the rook to a central file, very human. Now bishop d3, and well, here in fact it seems that it's white who's doing really better. He has saved his king's safety problem, and those kingside pawn on h and g are really threatening to be a huge force in white's favor. Bishop d3 makes sense. It's putting a nice bishop on the enemy's camp, but now knight f4 is a very cool move, attacking both the bishop, protecting the pawn on h5. Aronian plays rook a3, defending the bishop. Now if white took on d3, rook takes a3 would happen. Of course, that would favor black. He could have also tried, the commentators for instance thought his idea was to play rook a4, taking the b4 immediately. But okay, he opted for rook a3. Now very strong looking move. d5 opens up lines for the bishop on e3, and really that d pawn is going to be a considerable threat against black. Now the main point is that bishop is free to go to c5 or d5 or d4. With a very severe time travel here, Aronian was already in a kind of a panic mode, and he had a very tough position on the board. This is already looking very unclear, but objectively speaking should be very complicated for black to play. He plays bishop b1 with an obvious threat of playing rook a2, and there are a couple of ways to get out of this threat for white: moving the king, moving the queen. Shahriar Mamedyarov chose a very safe one, king g3. It is important here to note that, for instance, king g1 doesn't work for the tricky reason rook takes e3, rook from e8 takes e3, still some tricks on the position. And if rook takes e3 now, queen b6, the rook is pinned, attacked twice, and well, it seems now that black is doing really fine. His c4 pawn already will have something to say, and the pin is very uncomfortable for white. So it was important here still to play very accurately, and Mamedyarov did so. He played king g3, getting out of the position, and all of a sudden black seems to be really lost. White has 3 pawns for the exchange, and his coordination is much better. And really, white king's seems now to be much safer than his black colleague. c3 was played here by Aronian. He at least has this passed pawn, but queen c1 attacking both bishop and rook. Rook b3 and only move. Now bishop c5. Already having some threat against black king. If white managed to get his queen to the back rank and he exchanged the rooks, for instance, he could have checkmating attacks. a6 is, well, another move here was suggested, solidifying the pawns here on the king side. And, well, objectively speaking, of course, there must be lots of winning moves for white. If you give this position to a computer, it says white is absolutely winning. There are lots of moves, but humanly speaking, on the board, this is still looks very good for white, but very complicated stuff, still very sharp. Bishop c5 seems logical, protecting b4. Aronian took on if b1, and after this, queen d7. He regroups the queen to the defense. He's now threatening to take on g7 with check. Well, h6, very natural looking, protecting, and queen f7. The queen is back to defend, but should be too late, at least it seems so. But, well, here Mamedyarov plays knight h5. Doesn't seem the most accurate one, but what can you say to bad accuracy here in this crazy position? It seems it was much stronger to play queen e5. And, well, the best move suggested here for black is to play bishop f5, going back with the bishop to the defense. And now d6, strong point. C takes d6, for instance, queen takes d6, and back rank. The point is that back rank of black is suddenly very, very weak, and white is threatening to checkmate either from d8 or d8. So the f8 square is guarded with the bishop, the pawn, and this is very, very, very bad position for black. Well, instead of after queen e5, say c2, for instance, but now queen g5, and we have the same threat of going in with the checkmate ideas, and this is very dangerous for black. So you cannot play carelessly, of course. This position, this couple of passed pawns here, this couple of protected pawns here already on the 7th must be something. But knight h5, well, it has its ideas. Maybe it was not that a killer move, that an computerish move, but still it has its interesting idea. The point is that now the knight cannot be taken. If queen takes h5, this is leading to checkmate. Queen e6 check, queen f6, queen c8 check, queen f8, and queen takes checkmate. So it is almost forced to play the move bishop g6, going back with the bishop, and now black threatens to take the knight. But the line that Mamedyarov had calculated, he wanted to play, and he did play, was queen e8 check, queen takes e8, and now very beautiful, knight f6 check, forking the king and the queen. Not much choice here for black, only one move, king f7, and knight takes e8. Here Aronian was down for just seconds to move, and, well, he found the only move here not to have to resign and do one. He found a nice rook a3. Well, what's the point of this rook move? The point is that after, for instance, well, first of all, king takes e8 is not possible because, of course, a queen is promoted on g8. So with that in mind, another move which wouldn't work, for instance, is c2, because the very beautiful knight f6 is threatening to promote the queen, and there is not really a way that black can stop that. If, of course, king takes the knight, the queen is promoted, and otherwise it's going to be promoted as well, so black is once again busted here. So rook a3 is a brilliant move to defend an only move, rook a3, so that after knight f6, threatening to promote, the rook goes back to the 8th rank, and this is the best black had, stopping that threat just for the time being. Still, the queen goes on. The queen is promoted, and black must give up his rook. Knight takes, and finally Aronian made the time control. He plays his 14th move, king takes g8, and, well, it may seem he has escaped a very bad position, a
seemingly lost one in which the engines was going mad, saying plus 15 or something. But in fact, this endgame is once again very bad for black. And well, as we will see in a couple of moves, he's just going to resign, because this is, although it's an opposite colored bishop, there are just too many pawns for white. White is up 2 pawns, and black pawns are really too weak, and he has no counterplay really. After the time control, they played king f4, bishop d3. Well, white pawns on light squares may be maybe a target for black, but as we will see, it's not dangerous. King e5, king f7, bishop e3, stopping any kind of threat of this pawn from promoting, defending the pawn on h6, so keeping everything under control. Bishop f1, but after g4, Aronian just resigned. He seems to have escaped from an extremely timed trouble and mating threat, but in fact this endgame is lost, and dead lost. There is nothing he can do, and white will slowly exchange this d pawn for the c pawn. He'll take this one, and the passer b is very strong. He has 3 against 1 on the king side, etc. So well, black will soon run out of moves, so Aronian preferred here to resign, to give up the game, and a huge turning point it could be this round for the standings, as it seems that the point as when I left it, Anand was winning this game, Kramnik was losing his one, and Aronian has already lost. So this could be a huge day for Vishy Anand and all his Indian fans. So let us see what happens there.